Welcome to Toyota Time with Timmy the Toolman and Sean. Today is part 6 of my shop remodel at my new place in Bend, Oregon. In previous videos, you heard me go back and forth on ideas of how I was going to heat the shop and consider maybe air conditioning too. And at first I was thinking going with just propane heaters. I was at one point thinking of going with like a pellet stove or wood stove. But after talking to the guys at Kinetic Mechanical Solutions, I decided to go with one of my original thoughts, and that's mini splits. Kinetic Mechanical Solutions was recommended to me by Caleb, who was doing all of the electrical work for the shop. And so his buddy Corey, he's known for a really long time, has been in the HVAC industry for a bunch of years. He's got a lot of experience, started his own company with his buddy Daniel, and they just got done spending the day installing all the line sets and everything else to be able to power up the 4 units that are going to be installed inside the shop. There's going to be 2 on the short side, 2 on the large side. There's going to be some fans that Caleb is going to put up near the rafters to help circulate the hot air that's going to end up going up there because, you know, heat rises. And then there's going to be 1 unit on the outside of the building that's going to be powering those 4 head units. And so now I'll let Corey and Daniel get in front of the camera and tell you a little bit about their history of working in the HVAC industry and a little bit about their company. All right, so this is Corey and this is Daniel. So one at a time, tell me how long you've been in the HVAC industry and how you got into this trade.
I've been in for 15 years. My mom originally was a vendor. She was a credit manager, and I started working there, kind of worked my way up, and then I learned that I didn't want to push papers across the desk anymore. So I reached out to a local contractor. They threw me a bone, and I kind of took off from there. That was 15 years ago. I worked in commercial, heavy industrial, medical facilities for most of my career. It was about 2 months ago, Dan and I decided that we could do it ourselves and started Kinetic Mechanical, and it's taken off, and now we're here meeting Timmy the Toolman, so it's awesome.
And what about you, Daniel? How long have you been in the HVAC industry?
Gosh, I'm over 40 now, so I've been in the industry for about 19 years. Same kind of thing. I started with a little bit of install as an apprentice, doing jobs for a company called Interstate Mechanical. At some point, I got laid off because work got slow. And at that point, I went to another big company in the Portland metro area where I went into a service world because I was always jealous of those guys rolling around with vans. So from there, I just did my industry and my apprenticeship in the Portland area and got through my entire apprenticeship up there. I eventually moved over to Central Oregon, where I kind of stayed in the service industry, became service manager over here for a couple different shops down here before hiring this guy who over a couple beers decided that doing this by ourselves would be a good move. So that's how we kind of ended up here.
Nice. And so with your company, about how far will you venture? Because you're based out of Bend, right?
Correct.
So like how far will you travel in the Oregon area to do work for people?
For the right price, we'll travel anywhere. We will most likely stay in the Central Oregon area. That's Sisters, Redmond, Prineville, Bend, and Lapine. That's where primarily our focus is, but anybody that wants us to do work will travel for it. It's just very expensive to have contractors travel across the hill.
Yeah, basically the 97 corridor, we probably want to stay on that side of the mountains, not travel over mountain passes, especially during the winter time. You know, let the I-5 guys on that side of the hill kind of stick around and mark that territory, and we'll just kind of stay on this side of the hill.
All right, very cool. And thank you for doing good work for me. It looks like everything's going to work out great based off of your load calculations and the units you got for me. So I'm hoping for a nice, comfortable working environment.
Oh yeah, it's going to hold any temperature you want.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So here we are on the tall side of the shop, and Corey is going to explain where the mini splits are going to go on this side.
On this side, we have 2 15,000 BTU mini split heads. They're gonna go right about that black line is the bottom of the unit. That's 12 feet above finished floor. Enough to get it down where you actually feel the air, but high enough that it stays out of the working zone with the post lift that's going to be installed later. The lines that we have, they're all going to be concealed behind the wall. That's our drain line going out, and it just penetrates right outside, so all the condensate stays, gravity drain, and then all the lines will go back into this single back bay, and then they'll penetrate and tie into the condenser that's going to sit right below the window right there. The other two lines, we are going to come up high, hit into the peak of the next room, and then drop down and penetrate the same way through the top plate. Mount the heads at 8 foot over there, a little bit more closer working space. You'll feel the heat a lot more, you'll feel the AC a lot more, but the capacity that this building had on the load calc, this whole system is going to take care of this in any temperature outside, and it's going to keep it any temperature inside. So that's why we chose the Daikin mini split brand. I'm comfortable with it. That's why the load calc is super important, so we know exactly what numbers to hit with the insulation that's going in, the drywall that's going in. These are a perfect matchup for a building like this. So yeah, we're pretty excited. It's gonna be pretty sweet. Tim's gonna have it on Wi-Fi on his phone, and you'll never see him shivering out here.
Or sweating.
Or sweating.
But I probably will still sweat.
Yeah.
All right, so tomorrow you're going to run the other lines over there?
Yeah, tomorrow we'll have the other lines ran in. We're waiting on some clips to clip the line set into the unistrut, and that'll all be nice straight runs, even though it's hidden above ceiling, a personal OCD deal. And we will bend the line sets out of the wall and tidy everything up. So when sheetrock comes in, they just have to notch around it, butt it up nice, and then that way everything is really concealed in here.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to having a nice, comfortable working environment with a lift that's going to be going right about there. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
So we're back on another day, and Corey and Daniel have finished up the install inside of the shop as far as they can go, because they'll have to come back and install the head units on both sides of the shop. But this is what it looks like now.
So what we do here is, like Tim was saying, we can't finish the install until the sheetrock is done, because that is what the head unit mounts to. So we come in, we bend everything, we leave long extra tail on all of our interconnecting wire, our line sets, and our condensate lines. Sheetrock and insulation will come up, cover the wall, and then they'll leave those basically sticking out of the wall. At that point, we can come in, mount our bracket to the sheetrock onto the studs, mount the head, terminate everything, and then we can do a pressure test. And that's what takes us to the next step on doing startup and commissioning for this unit. So we have both walls done, all the line sets are ran, we've gotten our rough-in inspection, and at this point, it's ready for wall coverings. And then we'll come back, be about another day of labor, and we'll turn this thing on, get Tim connected on his Wi-Fi, and we'll get to heat in the shop.
All right. And so I'd like to show the audience the condenser that you mounted on the back side of the building outside.
Yeah, let's take a walk. So what we have here, this is a 3-ton Daikin mini split outdoor condenser unit. It does all of the work for the heating and cooling. With Daikin's technology, they can take 3 tons and they can actually get 4 tons of heating out of it and 4 tons of cooling. It's sized by our vendor. We basically tell them how many BTUs we need inside, and they say this is how big of a unit you need on the outside. Over the years, these things have gotten a lot smaller, a lot more technology in them, but the main brain of the unit is inside of here, and it's the main power control board and the inverter board. Inverter board takes AC voltage and translates it into DC voltage, which is how the compressor is ran. And that gives us the ability to modulate up and down based on a frequency. With that, working with the TXVs that are located right behind this panel.
What's a TXV?
A TXV, EXV is an electronic expansion valve. It's kind of like your throttle or drive-by-wire throttle on a car. This will open and close and allow refrigerant to flow quickly or slow it down, and these have a 100% positive stop in them, so they can act and do a complete close off. So behind here, that's why both lines are insulated, is because the EXVs are located outside, and so we need to keep the refrigerant as tempered as possible once it gets to the indoor unit. The fan also ramps up and ramps down depending on the load of the compressor and the pressure that's inside of the condensing unit. We decided to mount it up against the wall on this one, mainly because in this area we have a 9-inch minimum code between snow load. So if we were to do it with a pad, the pad would sit off the wall pretty far with the stand and everything. So with the drip edge and where the snow will be falling, we opted to mount this up against the wall, get it a little bit off the ground, and make everything nice and tight to the building.
It kind of blows my mind that little unit could power 4 heads and do ample heating and cooling for the whole building.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy the technology that they have in these things. And I mean, they're only getting smarter and more powerful, and the units are getting smaller and more compact, and they're coming out with some real cool technology in the next few years. So we have switched over to R32, which is a new refrigerant. That is new for Daikin. Well, not new, but it's new in the US market for the last couple years. It's an A2L refrigerant, so everybody's kind of learning about that, and hope it works out.
Me too. So that's it until the insulation and sheetrock is done. Your job is done for right now.
My job is done for right now. Once we get all the sheetrock done, we'll come back out, be about another day of startup commissioning, testing, making sure everything's good and dialed. We'll put this on a nice vacuum, get it down to industry standards for its system, and then we'll release the hounds and we'll be good to go.
Sweet. Looking forward to a nice, comfortable shop experience.
Yeah.
All right, this concludes this part of the shop remodel. The HVAC is all roughed in. After I get the building insulated and sheetrocked, they'll come back in and install the head units inside the shop. Caleb from Chet's Electric will have to come back and provide that power outlet. I think it's called a shutoff for the condenser unit on the outside of the building. So he has to come do that. And then I might have him add a couple more outlets because I am having second thoughts for the garage door opener on the short side. I might go with the side motor instead of the one in the center to gain some available height in that side of the shop, not having the motor hanging from the ceiling, but on the wall on the side of the garage door. So he should be able to finalize that pretty quick. And then they have to get the county electrical inspector to give approval, and then I can call the insulation company and get them out to install the insulation. And then I already have a sheetrock guy lined up, and he can get the sheetrocking and taping and mudding and texturing and painting of the sheetrock. So everything is looking good so far. It's happening pretty quick, and I'm stoked about that. So in the next video, I will be covering the insulating of the shop. Peace out. Happy wrenching. Bye-bye.